Just 2 hours ago, Texas Republicans revealed their latest edition of their voter restrictions bill for the special legislative session that starts tomorrow at 10 a.m. As reported on this program last night, the bill now does not include the provisions that would make it easier for Texas Republicans to overturn the results of an election, and the bill no longer restricts Sunday morning voting, a provision that was designed to hinder the souls to the polls tradition at black churches. The bill still contains several of the voter restrictions that were in a previous bill, including banning 24-hour voting, banning drive-through voting, criminalizing election officials who proactively send mail-in ballot applications, and it adds new ID requirements to vote by mail. The country's leading voting rights attorney, Mark Elias, tweeted tonight, quote, "If Texas enacts this bill, it will be sued." Joining us now is Democratic Congressman Colin Allred of Texas. He has worked as a voting rights attorney. Also with us, Texas State Representative Gina Hinojosa. Representative Hinojosa, what happens tomorrow at 10 a.m.?
Well, probably nothing much happens tomorrow. We will show up. It's a day of formalities, really. There are timelines that have to be complied with, even by the Republican majority, before any bill can be passed. And so tomorrow should not be too eventful. At least we're not anticipating that. But we will have a fight on our hands within this special session that takes place within the next 30 days.
So what about hearings on this bill? What about a full airing of it? Because there's now disputes, Republicans disputes among themselves about who put what provision in the last one and how did that get in the bill last time? We don't know how that happened.
It's a circus, isn't it? We did succeed with our walkout and breaking quorum. We did succeed in putting enough attention on these provisions of the bill to make even the Republican author of the bill in the House disavow the provisions of outlawing Sunday morning voting and the provision that would make it easier to overturn the will of the people, overturn an election. So we did have that victory by using our power to break quorum as the minority in the legislature. And so, yes, we have a new bill. Looks like some sharp edges have been taken off of it, but it is still not a good bill. And ultimately, what we need to remember is we do not have a voter fraud problem in the state of Texas. Our Secretary of State testified that elections in Texas were safe and secure. The 2020 election was safe and secure. So this effort to pass some sort of voter suppression bill is merely furtherance of Donald Trump's big lie. It is putting partisanship and politics above people, and we just need to let the people vote.
Congressman Allred, we had two members of the Texas legislature here last night who were able to enjoy a celebration of sorts about knocking out that provision, making it easier to overturn elections. That was such a huge victory for the Democrats. But that was last night, and now we are on the verge of the restart of this very, very tough challenge for the Democrats in the Texas legislature. What are you hoping for from your perspective in Congress?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let's just say how successful the walkout was that Gina was a part of, that they were able to get these two really egregious provisions out of the bill. As she said, it's still a very bad bill. And one of the provisions you didn't have in there in your excellent summary was allowing poll watchers to have free movement in the polling place. We know that there are Republican groups who are planning to try and intimidate voters, and that's certainly going to be challenged. I know Mark Elias is going to be on that because that is intentional. I think we know what the intention is there. And like you, Lawrence, I want to know who put this language in that they said that no one knew how it got in there. Where did it come from? Which groups were behind it? But as we've talked about many times, and as you just talked about in your last segment, we have to do something at the federal level to make sure that whatever's in this bill, the restrictions that are already in place in Texas, that we can provide some relief to make sure that our democracy is protected. This is just, it is so important. And I want to thank you so much for covering this closely, what's happening in Texas. We were already the state that was hardest to vote, and they're trying to make it worse.
Representative Hinojosa, do the Democrats do you have a strategy going into this that you can share with us, or might you have secret strategies that you can at least acknowledge but not share with us?
Well, right. So our strategies for gamesmanship purposes can't be broadcast on national TV. But yes, we are committed to fighting this with everything we've got, using every tool in our toolbox to make it so that we protect voting rights and not make it harder for Texans to vote. We already, as a state, rank consistently within the bottom 10 states for voter turnout. We do not have a voter fraud problem in the state of Texas. We have a voter turnout problem. And so we should be making it easier to vote. We saw in Harris County, where Houston is located, these innovative efforts to get people to vote with these drive-through places to vote, and by trying to proactively send out applications to vote by mail to only those who are qualified. We're seeing in this bill an effort to try to make that illegal, which is the opposite of what we should be trying to do. So yes, we are committed to fighting this bill. Ultimately, the congressman is right. We need the John Lewis Voting Rights Act passed. We need the For the People Act passed. This is a federal strategy to suppress the vote. This is a national strategy by the Heritage Foundation PAC, and we need a national response in Congress.
Congressman Allred, it seems when you look at these bills that Republican legislatures simply literally looked at everything that worked well and helped voter turnout, like drive-through voting, for example, and said, okay, well, we got to kill that right away.
They did. They knew that these were disproportionately used by communities of color in Texas and across the country. Americans did an amazing thing in the last election. We came together in a pandemic and had record turnout in a presidential election in which folks were worried that they might get sick and die just by voting, but they still did it. We should be celebrating that. And, Gina mentioned the big lie, and Lawrence, I was there on January 6th. Obviously, that was 6 months ago now. I was on the House floor when they tried to break in. We had to evacuate. We were determined to make sure we came back and that we did certify that vote. But that big lie is motivating what we're seeing right now. This special session is motivated by that big lie. It's still with us. We have to beat this. We have to beat it with federal legislation. We have to do whatever it takes. Lawrence, you're the Senate guy. Whatever it takes to get past the supermajority requirement there. Because this is this is a 4-alarm fire, and we have to have some federal protection. We're certainly going to do our part in the House. We just have to have a partner in the Senate.